Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you for making time to join us today for our webinar, Dental Marketing Survey Trends in 2016. I'm Heather Frechette-Crowley, Director of Product Marketing here at ProSites, and I'm joined by my colleague Cheryl Pedrizzoli, Senior Manager of Demand Generation. I do want to let you know that today's webinar will be recorded, and you will receive an email with a link to that recording within the next 24 hours. With that, we can kick it off. Great. I just want to take a quick look at what we're going to cover today. We'll start with giving you a little bit of background on the surveys that we conducted. I'll then dig into the demographics of our survey respondents before we get into the meat of marketing trends and what methods your peers have used and are currently using. We're also going to cover usage of online marketing service providers and wrap up with current marketing budget allocation and anticipated marketing spend. Great. I'll turn it over to Cheryl.
So thank you all for joining us today. We did 2 surveys in the last couple of months, and they were really both around trying to understand the dental practice marketing, what people are experiencing, what they're using, what's working, just really getting a good understanding. The 2 different surveys were each conducted by a third party, but they were a little bit different. So the first one was this pulse report that we did, and it was smaller. It was only about 10 questions, about 102 responses. The second one is this one that is the state of dental practice marketing. And this one had about 45 questions. We got 302 responses. Most of the information we present to you today is going to be from this larger survey. There was just so much more information for us to gather that was really worth sharing with everybody, that we wanted to make sure that you understood the 2 different places the information is coming from.
Great, thanks Cheryl. So I'm going to jump into demographics, and I see the poll results have come in, and it looks like about 67% of attendees were dentists, and the remaining were office managers. So again, you can see we have another poll right on your screen. If you can take a moment and fill that out, we'll be able to see how our audience here aligns with the survey respondents. Thanks. Great, we'll jump right in. So when we asked respondents to describe their work environment, the large majority, just over 90%, noted that they work in a private practice. And more than a third said that they work in a single dentist practice, while about 38% or so noted that they work with one other dentist. So in looking at our poll results, it's really in line. The majority work with about 50%, work with about 4 dentists, and then the remainders are split between 2 and 3. Great. Great, so on to annual practice revenue, certainly a topic of interest for most of us. You can see here that more than 1 in 4 respondent practices have an annual revenue of over $1 million. Well, just under half report practice revenue coming in between $250,000 and $1 million annually. I'm going to look at some basic demographics now. Just under 2 in 3 respondents were male, and 55% of respondents fall between the ages of 40 and 59. Great. So when asked to note their current position, the majority of respondents identified themselves as dentists or dental surgeons. And we also asked respondents about their involvement in marketing decisions. And about 62% reported that they were the sole decision maker when it came to marketing decisions about their practice. Great. So when it comes to length of time in business, the majority of respondent practices have been operating for more than 15 years, and more than half of respondents indicate that their practice will continue to operate for 10 or more years. So it's a definite indication of longevity there. I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl.
Thanks. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we learned as far as the trends that we found. So the first thing we were wondering was, how are people measuring and what are the goals for getting that growth and profitability in the practice? So the number one measure that people were looking for was an increase in the total number of net new patients. Probably not a surprise to anybody else. The number two focus was really retaining and recalling their existing patients, followed by increasing the average revenue per patient. The other responses you see here included things like positive reviews, more referrals, staying up to date with technology and patient care. When we asked people about the marketing methods that they're currently using, we asked two different questions about this. And before I jump into those, I'd love to hear what you guys say that you're using. So I'm going to launch one more poll. So the questions that we asked people were, first, what methods has your practice ever used? And then second, what are you currently using? So we wanted to know really what have people been trying, but what are they really ultimately figuring out that's impressive and working for them? So I'm just going to let that poll sit up just for a couple more seconds, and then I'll show you what our respondents said. Your great results. So let me show you what you guys said first. So the number one thing that everybody is using is word of mouth, followed closely by websites and social media, review sites, and search engine optimization. So let's walk through one by one all of these different methods that we found. Number one, word of mouth. Completely in agreement with our audience today. So 92% of the respondents had ever tried word of mouth. 96% of those are still using it. So this is not only the most popular method that people have ever tried, it's also the most popular method that people are currently still using. Second most important was practice website, so having a website for your practice. 82% of respondents have ever tried it. 93% of those who tried it are currently using it. And as you're looking at the pies as we go through all of these different methods, that section in blue is that percentage of people who are still using that method compared to our entire survey responses of the 302. Social media. Social media was third when we did our poll with you guys just a few minutes ago. It was also the next most important method that people who tried it are currently using. So smaller percentage have tried it, only 64% have tried it, but of those 88% are still using it. So this is a really good indicator that if you haven't tried social media, it's something that you should try because a lot of people are finding significant success with it. Search engine optimization. If you're not familiar with what that is, it's optimizing your website so that it improves the performance when search engines are going out there and giving people search results. So it's helping to move yourself closer to that first page and then higher up on the first page. And it's all done by optimizing your website itself, changing out copy, updating the kind of the meta information. There's information that's kind of in the background that people don't see visually, making sure it's mobile friendly so that it does get searched and indexed properly. So that's what search engine optimization is really all about. So while about 54% have tried it, 77% of those who tried it are currently using it. So that's a really good indicator of another method that's working well. Review websites. That would be like Angie's List or Google or Yelp, any of those ones where people can leave a review, put a star rating on there. 40% of people who have tried it, 40% have tried it, 69% of those are still using it. So that's indicating that this is another tactic that's working pretty well for people. Community programs or sponsorship, you know, we're starting to kind of see the numbers drop a little bit here. So 44% have tried it. Of that, 60% are still using it. Pay-per-click advertising. This is very similar to search engine optimization. So if you're not familiar with it, Pay-per-click advertising is when you pay Google or Bing so that your website shows up on the listings when people search. It's a good tactic to use if right now you're not showing up on that first page when somebody Googles, dentist in certain area. This will give you that opportunity to show up towards the top or kind of wherever you bid, but you do pay every time somebody clicks on it. That's where you get that pay-per-click name. So 22% have tried it, about 58% are still going. So it's still more people are finding it effective, but definitely less effective than some of the other methods that we've got. Email marketing, 34% have tried it. 54% of those who tried it are currently using it. Outdoor or billboard ads, now this is starting to get much smaller. Only 8% of our respondents had ever tried it, and about half of those were still using it. Yellow pages, I think this is a good sign of how the times have changed. Only about half of our respondents have ever tried it, and less than half of those are currently using it. So you can see that now we're starting to turn, and these methods, the results are kind of starting to tell us that these are less effective because people who have tried it aren't continuing. If more than half of the people aren't continuing, they're just not seeing the results. Radio advertising, 12% have tried it. Less than half of those who tried it are still using it. Print ads, about half of the respondents had tried it, but again, less than 50% who tried it are currently using it. So again, not being seen as one of the most effective methods they could use. Direct mail, 44% have tried it. Only about a third who tried it are still using it. And TV advertising, very small percentage tried it, and less than a quarter of those, or about a quarter of those who tried it are still using it. And coupons or Groupons, about 22% have tried it. Only 21% of those who tried it are currently using it. So this is one of the lowest, actually this is the lowest method as far as people who have tried it and have stuck with it, which I think makes sense, being in healthcare. So this is kind of a comparison. Like I said up front, we did 2 different surveys. And on the surveys, the questions were presented slightly differently. So the one that we just walked through, all of those methods, that's represented on the left. So the top methods that people are currently still using in order are word of mouth, practice websites, social media, and search engine optimization. Now, the way that we asked the question was slightly different on the Pulse report. We asked, how do people hear about your practice? And you can see the #1 response was actually worded slightly differently. It was worded referral / word of mouth, which I think is why the number is a little bit different. But it's the exact same order that people are using and people are getting responses out of it. So referral, word of mouth, website, social media, and search engine optimization, organic search engine results. Pretty much the same thing there. We did also ask on that Pulse report, what concerns do people have related to their practice's website or online marketing? The most popular result that we got was they're not sure people can find their practice online when they're searching for a dental professional. And we hear that all the time, so that wasn't a surprise. The next one, though, our office staff does not have the technical expertise to manage our marketing efforts. And that really segues well into the next section that we have, which is all about getting marketing help.
Great. Thanks, Cheryl. So looking at marketing help, we were really interested in how dental practices perceived online marketing services providers, how many utilized outside help, and what their decision drivers were. So take a moment and answer this question, if you will. And again, we'll be able to see how you compare with our survey respondents. Great, so I'm watching the results come in. And it's fairly representative, I would say, of what our survey found. Great, thanks, Cheryl. So about half of respondents currently use an online marketing services provider. And they do so because of providers' perceived expertise and their desire to save time and increase efficiency in their practices. Now, looking at the survey results, just about a little over 60% actually currently do not use an online marketing services provider, where about a quarter aren't sure, and about 13% of you currently on the line do use a provider. So great. Now, the other thing that we found out was that of those practices currently using an online marketing solutions provider, over 3/4 have been doing so for more than a year, which certainly indicates that they're seeing value. Great. So in the next slide, thank you. As I mentioned, we wanted to understand what services dentists used an outside provider for. And from this graph, you can see from those answers that there are a variety of reasons that dental practices hire online marketing providers. Respondents are highly interested in search engine optimization, as was apparent on the previous slides, as well as website design services. Additionally, they really want to work with a solutions provider that has a demonstrated return on investment. Next slide. Now, when it comes to selecting an online marketing services provider, respondents consider website design to be the most important service offering. Other important services include search engine optimization, HIPAA-compliant email, as well as reputation management. So when practices are looking for an online services provider, these are really the important offerings that they look for. Now, looking again at real decision drivers, we asked respondents why they outsourced online marketing for their practice. And you can see that the #1 reason practices outsource their marketing is due to a lack of expertise and marketing skill internally. Great. We can move on to our final portion. Cheryl?
So we're going to jump into marketing budgets. And this is a question in an area that people are always really interested in. So of course, we're going to launch a poll and see what you guys think first. So on average, how much do you spend on a monthly basis on your marketing? And if you've got a couple of big expenses that you know, try to spread it out over the course of the year and think about how much it would actually be on a monthly basis. And we're using kind of the same buckets that we did ask on the survey. So you can actually see how all of your peers are comparing to what you guys are spending. Okay, so I'm going to close this pretty quick. I know we're not leaving these open very long, but unfortunately, oops, sorry about that. I'm going to share my results with you. So it's a pretty even breakout between the different areas. We do have a pretty good portion who are actually spending over $1,000. And you can kind of see how it breaks out and compares. So when we did our survey, we asked, and we didn't just ask how much are they spending this year. We're asking how much are they spending now, how much did you spend a year ago, and how much did you spend 2 years ago? And we wanted to start to see if there's some trends in how people's budgets are changing as the economy changes and understand that kind of thing. Well, this year, or today, the average marketing spend is about $500. That's actually where the average was 2 years ago also. Last year it did rise up to about $600 and then dropped a little bit again for today's answers. But as you can see, looking across this, people are really all over the place. There's no single category that really has the bulk of responses. It's pretty even across. So I think if we were to look at this information and we would separate it out by the size of the practice, the number of doctors and things like that, we'd probably get some extra data points we could compare. But this is really kind of overall what we were able to find.
Great. Cheryl, I'm not sure if it's just me or if other attendees are also experiencing it, but I only see the title slide right now.
Sorry about that. Let's try again. Do you see it now?
Perfect. Thanks so much.
So sorry about that, guys. So I'll let this sit up for just another second so you guys can see. But the trend is that people are spending about the same overall, no spikes in any particular category. And again, the average spend is about $500. So next question. How do you think your overall marketing budget is going to change in the next couple of years? Well, most people said they thought it was going to increase, or about half the people thought it was going to increase. The small percentage said it was going to decrease. A fair number said it was going to stay the same. So we also wanted to know a little bit more about if they thought it was going to increase, what was going to cause it to increase. So we asked them, what do you believe is going to drive that increase? The biggest portion of people said they want new patients and new revenue, and that's about 37%. The next was they wanted to expand into other marketing channels, try out things that they haven't been trying before. And then you can see all the others kind of break out between all the other different categories here. But it's really about investing and making sure that you're growing your practice if you want to get more patients over the course of the next year and really growing. So we also asked, where are you spending your budget today? And what we found was that most people are spending their budget on online marketing. And that's just over half of the respondents had said that. We also have almost a quarter who are investing in print marketing, a little bit in TV, radio, which is reflective of what we'd seen earlier on, where that's just not as many people are trying it out. And then other is a whole lot of different other categories. So what's really interesting is that had we asked this question 10 or 15 years ago, the responses probably would have been very different, would not have been nearly as much on the online marketing side. But nowadays, everybody is realizing that all their patients are looking online for answers, they're pulling up their mobile phone and searching for answers right there, and they're changing their marketing practices to actually account for that. So we actually went through this information pretty quickly today. We do have more resources available if you're interested in learning more about the various ways that you can market your practice. When you get the slides sent out, there will be links right in here that you can click in order to access our blog, some white papers and other webinars that we've done, and then we've also got this guide to marketing. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. There is going to be a survey that is presented at the end of this webinar when we kind of close down. We really encourage everybody to fill that out. If you have any other concerns or comments or questions you want to ask us, that's an opportunity for you to do it on that survey. And just let us know how we did. We really appreciate getting all of that feedback. So I want to thank everybody for joining us.